Hey guys, today's episode is a double doozy. I answer the age-old question, should you quit your job to become an illustrator? But first, I talk about why I hate my illustrations. Hey guys, my name is Tom Froese. I'm an illustrator and designer in Vancouver, British Columbia. This is the Making Friends vidcast where I answer your questions about illustration. If you like this video, please give it a like and even consider subscribing to the channel. Every appreciation really lets me know you guys like the content that I'm giving you guys and encourages me, and just it means a lot. So I do still have my goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers by year end. It's a very modest, a very humble goal, and I think we can do it. But of course I need you guys to do it. But please only like it and only subscribe if you truly like the content in this video. I'm not asking anyone to do anything they don't want to do. But if you like it, if you truly like it, and you haven't liked a video yet with that little like button, or haven't subscribed to my channel, then I'm asking you to help me out. So I always start my videos off with a little bit of chit chat, and then I get into the question of the video, of the week, of the episode, toward the second half. If you're here for the straight goods, just the question, I always leave a link in the description below, and you can hit that link and it will jump you right to the question. So let's just get on with the chit chat. So this week, instead of chit chat and me just telling you the minutiae of my life, I'm going to just share some thoughts. Let's call it the thought of the week. Today's thought of the week is, I love illustrating, but I hate all my illustrations. So every few months, my agents ask me to prepare some artwork that they can use on a postcard or in other various promotional pieces. And I can never just pick one. I'm sure some of you can relate. The fact is that I don't care much for any of them. I feel the most impressive thing about my work is not any single piece, but my ability as an illustrator to do many different pieces. That's what I truly enjoy. I enjoy working on one illustration project and pouring myself into it. Once I'm done, I don't want to think about it ever again. It's nice to share the final piece on Instagram, especially if it becomes something more than just a printed image. But I also enjoy sharing things that are fun to see on the feed, and I enjoy learning what gets the most likes, don't we all? But what about what I like? When I see my old illustration work, even the freshest and most recently completed project, all I see is something someone else probably could have done better than I. I also hear echoes of my critics or of critiques I've had in the past. And I feel like whatever it is that I like, it's not the most appealing work on the mass market. And the mass market is where I need to be as an illustrator if I'm going to get paid doing it. So in the end, what do I do? How do I reconcile my remorse and my self-loathing as an illustrator on one hand, and on the other hand, my need to keep illustrating, both because I like illustrating and because I need others to pay me for it? How do I balance these two things? Well, as a designer, I know that what I make and what the client pays for is one thing, and what I love as a personally gratifying project is another. All my work is done to my best abilities, and it always answers the brief. That's why I get paid. So in that regard, my work is highly valued to my clients, and I stand 100% behind it. But I also feel that each piece really belongs to its respective project and to none other. That means showing it outside of the context in which it was made always feels weird to me. And that's probably why I'm so critical of it when thinking of how it could be used to promote myself outside of its intended context. I look at my website and I love my homepage. I love the homepage that shows the work and thumbnails all together. It shows that I've been busy, that I'm experienced, and it also gives a very effective visual summary of me as an illustrator. And this overall impression is what I enjoy most and feel I am best at. I'm a professional, and I get the job done for great clients. I take the most pride in this. Don't get me wrong, I take so much pride in the craft of each individual project too. When I'm making it, I am in my element, and I am making every possible best decision I can make. It's just that once I'm done and I get paid, once that brief has been answered, that problem has been solved, and that story's been told, I just want to move on. And this is perhaps the crux of the whole thing. I want to do something one time and one time only. And then I want to move on and do something new. That's why I'm an illustrator. Design, you're left doing projects for months. Whereas illustration, you could be done most projects within 2 weeks or less. And I love that. I want to do something one time and one time only, and then I want to move on and do something new. So yes, my work as a whole has repeating motifs. So you'll see in my work that I do similar things over and again, but you'll also see that I have mostly new clients each time and very few repeat clients. And those clients that I do repeat work for, even them from project to project, I try to evolve my work to keep it interesting. So do I hate my work? I guess I don't. But I do have a hard time leaning on my past body of work to represent where I am and where I want to be. The best that I can do is show the closest work to what I hope to be doing, not just the work that seems to get all the likes. I stress out about whether my work can be considered award-winning or not, but the truth is I'd rather be awarded in payments from clients for work that solves real problems rather than in trophies and accolades from my peers, most of the time at least. But still, this pressure to look somehow awardable in my work and my portfolio is perhaps the false standard that I hold myself to, and which causes all this self-loathing. I like what I do. I like what I make. It's good, and I want to do more of it. Ultimately, I need to keep making work that ticks all the boxes though. It's good, it answers the client's needs, and it comes from an honest, real place in me. So those are my deep thoughts for the week. I know it's a little bit more scripted than I normally do, but that makes it a lot faster for me to just get this out on a video and edit it. Let's get on to the question. So this week's question is I think something a lot of people ask. It's something I've asked myself and had to answer. And I want you to just kind of take how I answer this question with a grain of salt. You know your life and your position and what you need to do. And I guess that's about as much of a disclaimer as I need. So why don't I just get right into the question? Should I quit my job and become an illustrator? Are you asking that question? Well, here's the longer form question from an anonymous questioner, and I'll just read it out here. She says, "Hello, I'm a self-taught illustrator. I'm just starting my career. I studied marketing communication, and after working for 7 years in the account management department in 2 renowned advertising agencies, I decided to quit my job and focus on being an illustrator." So here she talks about her own illustration aspirations and techniques and styles a bit. And then she also describes her career objective as an illustrator. And she also shares a link to some of her work, mainly a Society 6 page, which shows a shop with mock-ups of various products with her illustrations applied to him. And just judging by the link that she showed me, she truly is really beginning illustration. She hasn't been professionally trained, and I'm not saying this as any kind of backhanded remark. It's just simply this question is coming from someone who is clearly very passionate about illustration and is excited to see how it looks in the real world, but hasn't had a lot of actual client work to show. So let me continue with the long form of the question. Sometimes I really think that applying to agencies as an illustrator can nurture my talent and give me proper guidance and a true chance at delivering work against a real brief and a real communication challenge. Do you think that is the right way to go for a newbie like myself? So this was a question I got kind of back in June. Yeah, it was back in June. And here's the answer I gave her, and I emailed her kind of this response, and I'll just kind of read it to you. While I can't advise you on your personal career path, I can say in general that it's rarely a good idea to just jump from one career into illustration unless you have some very strong signs that it will work out. What are some signs that you might be ready? Here are some off the top of my head. You have already done some commercial work, commercial illustration work, that is. You have worked as a designer or in another visual field as a creative for at least a few years. You are actively making artwork that sells well online, at shops and fairs, etc. Your illustration has been praised by people in the creative industry on more than one occasion, so you are continually receiving affirmation that your illustrations, your drawings, your artwork is good. And you often get asked to illustrate, and so you find yourself working as an illustrator on the side. So these are five possible scenarios, and or 5 signs that you are talented and should be pursuing a career as an illustrator. If you can say yes to at least one of these, just one of them, you might have a shot at a successful freelance illustration career in the long run. If you can say yes to 3 or more of these points, you may have a chance of actually, like in the very near future, becoming successful as an illustrator. And when I say successful as an illustrator, I mean clients are regularly coming to you, asking you to illustrate for them and paying you. It doesn't mean that you're making any certain amount of money per year or whatever, or per job. It's really just that you're illustrating for clients and they're paying you, and you keep getting more work like this, meaning you are known, you have a reputation as an illustrator to some degree, and it's looking promising as a career trajectory, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to read these 5 signs that it's working out for you, or it's going to work out, one more time. So 1, you have already done some commercial illustration work. 2, you've worked as a designer or in another visual creative field for at least 2 years, a few years, I should say. You are actively making artwork that sells well. That's 3. 4, your illustration has been praised by people in the creative industry on more than one occasion. So your work is being affirmed by people who are influencers or are well qualified to speak on such matters. And 5, you often get asked to illustrate. And so you find yourself working as an illustrator on the side. And again, these are all things you're looking for while you are, the scenario here is that you are currently not working full-time as an illustrator. You have a day job, you're an administrative assistant, you're a real estate agent, you're an engineer, you're a teacher. You're not working as an illustrator, but these things are true about you. If you can say yes to at least one of these, you might have a shot at successful freelance illustration career in the long run. And if you can say yes to 3 or more, you may have a chance of making it work more imminently. So I know I've just repeated that whole thing twice, but I just wanted to make sure that I was very clear about it because I know there's a lot in there. If you can't say yes to any or most of these, don't give up just yet. So I'm saying all these things not to say if you don't meet these things, give up, not even worth trying. That's certainly not what I'm saying. I want to encourage you guys, just be patient with yourself and continue to build yourself up until some of these start happening for you. If you're really passionate about it, if you really believe in yourself, at very least, you should continue to build yourself up until you start seeing these signs. If you spent a long time working toward being an illustrator and none of the signs that I've just listed are showing themselves as true, then yeah, of course, maybe it would be a good idea to consider why those things aren't happening, right? But those are just signs that there are some positive signs that you can make it as an illustrator. And of course, we need these signs. These are the stars in our night sky. These are the signs on the journey. No signs, no stars, we're lost, right? So there are many resources out there for you guys, including books, podcasts, online classes, and of course, local art, design, illustration classes at colleges and stuff. So if you are in this position, in this situation, you're either employed gainfully but not satisfied, or you're not sure what you want to do with your life, you're young and you haven't really embarked on the career journey yet. I'd probably say I'm mostly speaking to people who are in gainful employment right now. So people who are working in a job that it would be a huge risk to quit your job and then go pursue illustration. So in my own life, I've been in this situation I wouldn't say many times, a handful of times. And there were definite signs that at first that it wasn't time to make that leap. And I would even say not just as an illustrator, like before I was a designer, I was more in a computer engineering kind of field. And even then I was like, I want to go to school for design. I want to go to school for art. And nothing kind of felt right. It didn't feel like a sure thing for me yet. And I was just patiently like pursuing my interest in design on the side while I did the things that I knew were the sure shot. They were the things that were working out for me. And I did have a good job, and I did have that path laid out for me. So I followed that, but I didn't forget about my artistic side. It's just that the more I focused and fed that artistic side hustle, if you will, the bigger and more irresistible it came. And eventually it became undeniable that that's what I had to do. So it wasn't a question of, should I do this? But when is it going to happen? And then quite simply, there's nothing, I have no choice. I have to do this. So this is my own personal experience. I don't expect that everybody's story is going to be the same. There are going to be people who make a huge risk and quit their good job and against all odds just land a great successful illustration career, and that would be amazing. That's like winning the lottery. And then there's going to be people who quit their job, hope it works out, and it's not going to work out. And they go back to their job, or they find something else as a result of this journey, as a result of this risk they took. My own take on it is I didn't want to make any decisions toward becoming an illustrator full time until it presented itself to me as the thing I had to do. There was no other choice. Even if it was a risk and I could have failed at it, it could have not worked out for me. I would not have regretted that choice, because in the moment, at that time in my life, I could think of nothing else but to do that, and I would have no regrets having tried. So should you quit your job and become an illustrator? That's ultimately something for you to find out and discover, and I wish you guys all the best in that journey, in that decision. Include your friends, include your family, whoever's close to you. Let them be a part of your decision. Be ready to hear their feedback, their thoughts on it. Even if it's just something that you hear and you don't want to hear, at least you know, like, what am I saying? Even if the things that the people you're asking are what you don't want to hear, it's still good to hear. And you can either say they're right, or you can feel very strongly that they're wrong. Either way, include people in your decision. That's a huge feedback resource that will help you make a better decision. You can talk to career counselors. You can talk to friends. Maybe if you have a good relationship with your employer, you can even talk to them. The most important thing is, don't do this alone and make a huge decision that's going to create a ton of anxiety for you. You need to do something that's not just good on paper or looks good to talk about, like you're chasing your dreams. You need to do something that's right for you. And that's something that the people who are closest to you can have at least a little bit of insight into. So thanks for your question. And if you're watching, you probably know who you are. You know that I've already answered this in an email, and I appreciate that it's been something I can turn into content for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, again, please give it a like. Just let me know that you appreciate what you're watching, and that just means the world to me. If you have a question about illustration, please leave that in the feedback or in the description. Just leave that in the comments below. The comments is where you can leave your question, and you can leave comments too, comments, feedback, etc. Whatever it is. I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, keep making great work and keep asking great questions.